Derp. It's working again. Oh my god, dude. It's a late Christmas or early next Christmas miracle. But we managed to be able to get the thing streaming 3 days in a row. Well, how about you guys? Living it? By it, I mean the dream. Living the dream. Well, I spent all day farming yesterday, and I thought, yeah, fucking have my flying mount in no time. Well, I don't necessarily want to farm like that today. That shit was took all day. But if I do it every couple days, I should have my flying mount relatively soon. But did we not do the heroic yesterday? We couldn't get a fucking Ramparts heroic. Is it a fucking calculator? It's the same one. God damn it. 2 days in a row now. Where is... Ramparts heroic. I've got exalted with everything besides the Keepers of Time, so I don't know if any of them give me anything good or not. If there's not any groups forming for it, I'm gonna... Oh, look at that. There we are. They all have 3 DPS already. Oh. Derp. Yeah, so not that I'm normally the guy to try and rank or assess things based on this exactly or this thing only, but shit, here you filled up the group. That the thing we were discussing yesterday about a potential, I say new competitor because, yeah, I say that because, oh shit. The reason why I say that is because, in my mind, anybody that's going to bring forward something that even resembles the thing that, like, the Leah team is trying to do, people that, and I'm not saying I'm educated on the matter, but the people that don't, like, necessarily research it maybe as much as some people do, will see similarities and think, oh, this must be that thing, at some point in time, or this is, and it's like, I guess for all intents and purposes, it's such a narrow field of people and such a just a small group of people trying to develop and create like something, right? A project or a product or whatever. Any resemblance at all is about the only thing you have to go on to determine whether or not what is or isn't considered to be like its competitor, if that makes sense. So the fact of the matter is a lot of people might not know what they're looking at, so they'll see it and they'll think, well, even I said it yesterday, and I mean it is kind of true, but it's not exactly true. But like, you know what I mean? It's such a narrow field with so few individuals that anybody showing up now, seeing anything that even looks similar, is going to say, well, these things must be competitors, right? So the thing is, though, is that the indicator that a lot of people use that isn't necessarily a fair measure of what a project's validity is its market cap. So it's perceived value based on the tokens and how much each token is worth on an exchange, so on and so forth. That's like the metric that most people use to determine things, right? And just as of yesterday, it's already plummeted compared to what it started, which doesn't matter to me either way. But it is a sign that people might be thinking for themselves a little more about what bandwagon they're trying to hop on, because generally, the, that amount of attention and effort and campaigning and so on and so forth would result in the opposite effect. And not to say it's a good thing or bad thing, whatever, neither here nor there, but to see that occur means that people might not, like, think about it like a fishing scenario, right? The fish just aren't biting, kind of thing. Like that's kind of the impression that I got, and I hope it stays there. I hope that's how it goes from this point forward. I wish anybody else, you know, as much luck and success as a person can. Um, I just, obviously would like to see the thing that is best win, period. And I think everybody kind of got that impression too. They kind of like, well, this is strange. Like an ad campaign blitz paid what I believe to be, I don't know for sure, exchange listings, which means that they chose the option of forfeiting like probably a pretty good portion of their project to various exchanges in the name of getting it listed on an exchange, which means like you can trade your other cryptocurrencies for it and get it and so on and so forth. It's a cheeseball process. It's not one that I approve of ever. Some other people might know better than me about that, but at least for what I've experienced, I wouldn't approve it. Like I wouldn't don't look highly upon it, right? But that being said, it's like where my litmus test for whether or not the thing was getting traction was, well, if you see a whole bunch of tokens purchased, then you'll know that they're taking the bait, right? And I'm glad to see that they aren't, so that's good. I think that's a good thing. I think that's probably an indicator that people are not, they're just not biting, and I hope it stays that way. I really do. If it's legitimate and it's the best thing ever, then obviously you want people to participate as much as they can. But if it's just what it might appear to be, and it's still early, right? I mean, it's only been a day or two, right? So without like cursing anybody or making any claim that might not be true, I'm just going based on what I've seen so far. Some of this shit is a bit strange. That's all. Yeah. But if I had to guess, if they were able to supposedly after the token launched purchase 30% of the supply and lock it for a period of time, right? Well, they said that they did that, right? And I don't know how much you have to forfeit exactly to get listed on various exchanges, but it's probably another pretty sizable portion. It's not a good foundation for any of that really to succeed. If you would think about it like an arcade game, right? And you have to buy a token to play this arcade game that you really want to play, and they aren't for sale except like one person has a few, and that inflates the perceived value of those tokens. That's not necessarily a fair, you get what I'm saying, kind of representation. So you people wind up having to spend more to get less because supply control, right? So if they were able to purchase 30% and lock it, I guess it's a noble thing to say and do. Like uh, that, they were like, okay, well that shows dedication. They're not here for the short term, but based on the fact that I'm seeing what appears to be like a bot farm being paid to do all this promotion, all that stuff, usual suspects, talking points, no real substance, uh, so on and so forth, that you would think that the likelihood that they've only bundled um, so much of the token at 30%, it's probably a much higher number than that. So you have to think, in my mind, that it's probably almost an entirely bundled project, which means that basically a few people control the entire token supply that facilitates you to be able to use this groundbreaking platform, but only maybe a few people can allow you to use it. So can't say I necessarily agree with that. Um, because you could think, if you go by what, like, if you've looked through some of the term agreements and sheets and stuff for some of these exchanges, what they require is they require a lot. They require like a sizable portion to be listed. And the thing I've seen today was just one after another, one after another, after another. I'm like, so they might have done a lot of deal making, right? But ultimately, I can't imagine what size of that is, what token supply is currently left, right? I don't know, man. Probably not much, which means that it's I wouldn't say it's a safe anything really. I wouldn't, um, just because the amount of what appears to be like, oh well, I didn't tell them to do this. They just did it on their own, right? And I just happened to be the main benefactor of their whatever, And yeah, I mean, I did pay them, but right, you're like, okay, right. If any amount of that is going on to that degree, then it's going on around everywhere like that, right? So, look, I'm not one that's going to sit there and say you shouldn't be able to advertise your platform. You know what I mean? But it's just kind of a cheeseball thing. I'm observing, right? Don't curse me if I'm wrong, because I don't know for sure. I'm just kind of explaining what I see. If that's um, any interest to you, the things I've learned, like the shit that cost me dearly to learn too. So I would like to share the information for free if I can. And I'm not saying my word's gospel and I'm right and they're wrong. I'm just, pay attention to this shit and do your own fucking interneting about it. Because and another thing too is centralized exchanges, especially the ones that want you to pay them to list, have a really aggressive volume thing where, not to say really aggressive, but they have a very quick listing and delisting process for tokens that you pay to list on their exchange, and then if it doesn't retain a certain amount of daily trading volume, they delist it. So you don't get your tokens back. They keep it. They do whatever. They liquidate it. I don't know what they do with it. And basically everybody else gets screwed over. So that's why I've. It's one of those things where like, well, the people really want you to blah blah. It's like, okay, well, we've seen numerous projects that went that route of paid listings that it didn't help at all. It only made things worse, right? So I'm glad that Leah is not listed on an exchange currently. That's a good thing. I really do think so, because it would have gotten to the point where sacrifice 10% of something that is special in the name of getting it listed, just so it could get delisted during this lull in the market, right? And then, you know, it's rare for a token to survive an aggressive delisting campaign. It almost never happens, but it can. It almost never happens, right? But at this point in time, and I've researched some. I haven't like looked at what like Coinbase's listing stuff is, but some of the public opinions of some of the people, without speaking for them, obviously, is that yeah, if you um, some of the personalities there and stuff like that have mentioned in the past, like if you're paying 10% of your project to an exchange to have it listed, you must not necessarily, you know what I mean? Like that's not what they do there, that kind of thing. So um, that's good to see. You know, I like to know that. At least we know at some point in time, despite the fact that they did onboard the Solana ecosystem, it's good to know that there are people that at least believe in the same things, right? That's awesome. I think that's a good thing. So it's one of those, like, if you really do have the hottest thing in town, man, fucking, why would you give it to some dipshit at an exchange? You know, like, I'm not kidding when I say, like, I know those are like extreme or extreme, what's the term here? Examples rather, to say like, but if you liken it to the early days of tech, it's like, would you expect any major tech company to forfeit 10% of its overall project to be traded on any of the exchanges, the Nasdaq, Dow, whatever, however that shit works? I'm not really sure, but no, like you would hope not. You know what I mean? Like if it really is the best thing ever, you know what I mean? Why would you do that? Especially if you don't have to. Well, the people early on really just basically spam chat and told us to do it, and we got scared, and that's what we did, right? It's like, okay, yeah, well, don't do that then, right? Don't listen to those people. They have an agenda, you know what I mean? But that's my opinion. So I'm glad to see that with Leah, the developers and stuff are just like, they're developers, man. They don't. I mean, they read the chat, they read all the stuff, they respond accordingly when they're available and all that stuff. But they don't like, you know what I mean? It's like almost, from what I've gathered, you know, my own personal experience talking to them, is like it's just above it all. Like, okay, well, let them feel that way then, right? It's like, and I really like that approach. Not to say, like, whether or not Def knows how special the thing he created is, but he is treating it accordingly, right? Like, he really does care about the fucking thing. You know, he like, uh, so it's good to see that he's treating it as if it is something that he cares about and doesn't want to part with and doesn't want to sacrifice as much as he already had to himself, but as a whole to like someone that doesn't deserve it for not the right reasons and stuff. You know, that's what I've gathered, you know. So it's good to see that kind of behavior. That's all. 'Cause there were numerous occasions where things could be done. It's like, well, these people have part of their policy are like, well, they're supposed to entertain a certain amount of tokens to be listed for free on their exchanges as part of like whatever, you know, their legal team said so or whatever, to be listed as on a review website. It's like, yeah, you can pay to get it expedited, and that's the racket there, but you know, but as far as like the free listing process is like, no, they have to list us. They're like, I guess, legally required to list a certain amount of shit for free. So I'm like, as much as that's probably an inside game too, I would say that it's probably best to just wait and hold their feet to the fire on something like that. It took years for even Coinbase to list Binance token, one of the most widely traded cryptocurrencies on the planet. So I know it's a competitor exchange or whatever, you know, so on and so forth, but it's proof that like, just if what you have is the best and people think it's the best, you just do what you do then, right? The shit will get figured out eventually. It took years for Binance to get listed on Coinbase, right? The shit will happen eventually. So go with the flow, right? Just don't try to swim upstream either. You know, just go with it, man. And I'm not trying to just make excuses for the fact that like, but no, like I've seen numerous projects that had gone through the process for that kind of thing and only end up losing, right? Um, there are specific examples that I could give, but I'm not trying to give specific examples. I'm speaking like, well, you just have to take my word for it or do like a little bit of research, pay attention, you know, that kind of thing. And there's numerous examples where that kind of thing happens. It's just that matter of how long are you willing to be in a state of attrition before something happens, especially if you're self-funding through DeFi or whatever to develop, right? It's like, well, I don't know, man. It's up for you to decide, I guess. But the reason why it's such a widely accepted practice is because the people habitually launching tokens on Pump Fund have no intent on trying to develop anything ever for the most part. So they don't mind parting with 10% of what they perceive as basically nothing. They're like, oh, well, that's just the cost of doing business then, right? That's like their mentality. It's like, well, it's not a very noble business, but yeah, I guess so if you want to call it that. It's like no utility, no reason, fucking, okay, it shows what you really believe about the thing that you're doing, you know? And like, okay, well, I'll, you know, it's like, you would stand to reason why the more successful and more reputable exchanges also have that same mentality that that's not necessarily a good thing, right? And that's not how they list, and that's not, it's like, because if you think about, if it becomes a pay for play kind of listing process, then what quality are you really providing to your customers at that point in time? Well, absolutely none, because they're paying for you to say it's quality when it's not. You know, that's the cost of doing business then, right? It's like, that's kind of ignorant. I can't fucking sheep this thing, guy. It's like, so, as much vested interest as your exchange should have in providing a product that is high quality, I mean, you really should. I mean, it only stands to hurt you in the long run to be paid to list shit on your exchange. In all honesty, like you're basically a shit salesman, and you know it, right? That's kind of a shitty thing to do. No pun intended, or pun intended, really. But it's like, it's like we'll sell your product that we know doesn't work if you give us 10% of the company, right? That's like, come on now, really? And how much from cryptocurrency have we actually seen amount to anything so far? Like, there's been very few innovations. Like, there's been a lot in the name of like stable coins and real world assets on chain and all that. Like, that's all great. There's been a lot of development in layer ones as far as like the Ethereum virtual machine and Solana, and those are awesome too. But I mean, the amount of what can you actually grasp at and see and do, the, like, you know, it's not nearly as much as you would think, you know. And that's because a lot of people have taken the stance that um, well, we'll pay to get it listed, this, that, and the other thing, and then their incentive to continue to develop or create the thing they said they were going to is removed because they've met their obligations to the community. You know what I mean? Like, the thing's listed, you have your token, do with it what you want. We'll do it eventually, but it's not going to be right now, obviously. You're like, okay, so what incentive is there then, right? Like, practically none, right? At that point in time, they feel like, well, we've met all of our obligations. We've done everything we can do, right? Now it's on you guys to make all this shit better, right? It is one of the ways, you know, people kind of think about it. But that's not like, oh, anything but than just how people are about things, you know. That's not like any part of anything other than maybe just some human psychology for how people are about their their obligations as far as that shit's concerned. And there are people that genuinely stick through, and you see them every day, you know, doing their thing. And the curse of, what is that? Curse of weakness? Shit's weak, bro. we sheep these ads on the boss? Oh fuck, kind of filled the wrong one. Derp. Damn it. That didn't pull because of me. Oh shit. Oh, that was the boss. Never mind. Derp. Damn it. Guys. Such a nerd. Come on now. I guess these are the ones I can't sheep. I can't. Oh, tree druid. Oh, that's a thing too. Oh, the fucking AI video game, right? I just thought of this. Such a good idea. Mom, write it down. Uh, each country could have their own national anthem. How cool would that be? Get to vote on your own national anthem. AI generated national anthem for your AI country. I thought of it because the it's like, oh, Canada for some reason. Ugh. Yeah, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? couldn't do this yesterday or whatever day it was. I think it was yesterday morning. We had a terrible group. Like we were pulling fine, then one guy was like, "Give me your password. Let me log into your character. I will start your Blizzard and I will log out. You log back in. I'll tab over." And I'm like, "God, dude, kill me, please." Like anything besides like playing his own fucking character. Here's the thing in my mind though, I'm always like, is this one like, it would be great if I were an AI and he was trying to tell me what to do to play the game or whatever. That would be cool, but it's not, and that's probably not what that guy's doing, so he might though. I got some weird friends. I really do. I have some bizarre friends for sure. I stand exactly here, Blizzard. I will log into your character. I will start the Blizzard on the like. Oh my god, dude! Like I've done this before, guy. And then he cried and left. He went, "Ah," and he left the group. He left the group. Him and his friend both did. My haircut went well yesterday. She's finally got it down to where I want it. It sucks though. It takes forever to get it to like lay down and not be all curled up and try to get it to just get just right. It's like takes fucking forever. All right, so it's good to see that nobody's taking the bait. That's good. I just hope it stays that way. I would say if in a year the guy's still doing it and the thing's getting better and better as time goes on, then I would say, well, you know, maybe take a second look, 6 months, year, whatever. But so far though, the thing is though is like, I guess what I'm getting to see though firsthand is like what quality 3D model can a cell phone render. You get what I'm saying? That's helpful to know. If that's the quality, then it's totally worth uh, going the remotely hosted and rendered route, basically. Because the others like it's such a terrible quality. It wouldn't be acceptable. Like no one would want to use the thing. None of my primal fires sold yesterday. Put them up for too expensive, and then a bunch of people undercut me. Oh shit. Try to spam sheep on that guy. The thing I seen the other day though that was super interesting was a guy who was talking about our dimension being a computational dimension, right? So he's like, no, we live in a simulation, right? And he was giving a pretty good explanation as to why. Like, and the thing is, he didn't say this exactly, but I thought it was interesting. I'm like, yeah, I never even thought about it that way. Why does time dilate when we go the speed of light or go close to the speed of light? And he explained it. I'm like, that's just like lag, isn't it? Like computer lag. Makes sense, doesn't it? I'm like, wow, I never even thought about that. Yeah, time dilation is just like real life lag for people going faster than the computer can process, right? I thought that was super cool. It had my mind like I was like, oh wow, like all you have to do is explain the shit in computer terms, and I'm like, ding, right? Fuck, suddenly it makes sense. I'm like, yeah, I guess it does kind of make sense, right? But I was trying to think if that's true, like in a hypothesis sense, what other instances of things like, if we are a computational universe, you would think like, um, you would be able to measure a time dilation. Well, unless it's just something to do with where you travel for whatever reason, but you would think if it were like, if you've ever used a rendering engine or anything, like some of the more graphically intensive things are when you use like the explosive simulator or the smoke simulator. You would think, okay, well, in real life, then like, um, you an atomic bomb exploding, you should be able to measure some time dilation. I don't know how you would do it, but anything that's like a large series of chemical reactions, or you know what I mean, like, um, sublimating tungsten to from a solid to a gas, a big block of tungsten. You know, the amount of, like, if it is really a computational universe, then things that like, uh, big chemical changes. You know, a big vat of, a big dry ice cube getting dropped in the ocean or something, right? Anything that requires like would say is some form of like computation in a simulator sense, or like in Blender or whatever. Um, you would think would might you might be able to measure a time dilation too there. But the thing is that that's assuming that everything's computational and not just distance, right? So for whatever reason, it does seem like though that lag, right? Like the idea that real life lag occurs, um, as you travel closer to the speed of light is kind of strange, right? That is weird. It is like lag. So you might even be able to figure out based on how, at what rate time dilates as you approach the speed of light, what the overall like processing power of our universe is, if it is a computer, right? Because as you speed up, time slows down, which means there's only a certain amount of processing power available to process you moving through space. And you could determine kind of, I guess, like the equivalent of like how many teraflops does that organic universe computer have to render reality, basically. If that's, there would be like a different type of thing for it, though. It wouldn't be teraflops, obviously, but whatever that organic measurement of computation as far as like time, space, and quantum physics is concerned. Qubits. How many qubits does it? How many qubits? You get what I'm saying? That kind of like where it goes from just regular computation to like quantum or whatever, where it reaches into physics instead of just computation or whatever. You'd be able to come up with like, oh well, there's like a universal constant of computation, then there would have to be, right? Or something, maybe, I don't know. Would be interesting to see if two objects going at the speed of light, at the same speed, if the time dilated more if two objects were doing it, right? So there's like a universal, like there's like a net, these are just thoughts though. Um, no reason to believe that that's how it would work, obviously. I get this one sheep one of these days. These things hit so hard, I'm not, oh, come on now. But I think the rate at which time dilates is constant, so I don't think it's dependent on like how many objects are going near the speed of light. It was interesting though. I'm like, oh wow, like I never even thought about it. Like, yeah, just like a fucking video game, really. There's like not a speed limit, but just like a universal constant. What it can only process so much at once, and that might not be exactly how it works, but it was an interesting thing to see, or to have it explained that way, because as we've learned in the past, as I've gotten older and stuff, like when I got to looking up on the internet, like all the old computer technology, the old continuity of government modems for their old like 56K or pre 56K or whatever, consisted of a handset with the curly Q wire that your grandpa had in his kitchen, where you would dial up the fucking NORAD database or whatever, and you would actually set it on a thing that had a mouthpiece receiver and an earpiece component, and the router on the other end, computer, would actually talk to your router or modem rather, through through your phone on your wall there, your landline, before they even got to before they had it to where you just jacked the plug directly into your computer. You had a separate box that plugged in through like a serial port, right, to your desktop or whatever it was at the time, and it had a microphone and a speaker, right, and you turn the phone upside down to where the phone's speaker was speaking into the microphone and vice versa, and it actually just like like Morse code kind of for people that don't know what it what it sounds like, kind of computer gibberish, right? Um, it actually communicated that way, and you're like, well, that's no different than a human mouth and a human ear. I mean, that's where you kind of see how, you get what I'm saying, like. Um, so that's one instance of like, oh well, that's where we found out at some point in time, that like the things like the Matrix had a really good idea, or at least conceptualizing how things might actually work in a simulated environment or whatever. It's like, well, why wouldn't all this other shit work pretty much like exactly like it does with computers then, if we've already got like a couple instances of where it does, down to the physics component, and then I was thinking of like the routing and modem and internet component too. If you think about computers being like the human brain, it's like, well, what part of this experience is rendered non-locally through some sort of organic decentralized computing system or something, right? It's like, well, I can't prove it. It is a theory. It's interesting, more or less, to talk about. But the thing is like we've got enough case studies here of things where biology or where technology mimics human biology and vice versa and works almost exactly the same way. So it stands to reason that that might be one of those ideas that scales, that physics might work the same. And then when that guy came up with that thing about that goddamn traveling the speed of light, I'm like, yeah, it's like lagging. Like everybody's lagged in a video game. Brilliant. Like, why did it take so long to get to that conclusion, right? That's the third thing now that I'm like, well, I guess that does kind of behave just like a fucking computer, doesn't it? Okay, fair enough. It might be true then. I don't know. But interesting, right? But the thing I was thinking of is like, why the interdimensional travel for humans, I like physical beings, is impossible, right? Because the idea is like, that's like I said the other day. I said that's the equivalent of like your Claude bot actually like physically manifesting itself through your router, and like it just doesn't happen that way. It's um, your AI like physically manifesting itself in the third and fourth dimension is just, it's just not possible. The closest thing we have to it is creating a vessel for it to operate in our dimensions, right? So can't say if there's not hyper intelligent aliens somewhere that they haven't created like these dragoon like robots for us to occupy. We might call that heaven, whatever you want to call it, right? But in another plane, right? Like we have no ability to exist in that dimension, basically. But I don't know. The rest of it's, I mean, it's more science fiction than anything, obviously. But the thing is, if you think about it from an AI sense, like, no, well, currently, there is a company called Tesla that is building robots that to allow artificial intelligence that only exists virtually to manipulate objects in the third and fourth dimensions. That might be the same for us in our dimension in the next higher plane of existence too, right? I mean, I'm not necessarily uh, trying to bet on that or anything. I'm just saying it's an interesting theory. As much as we've seen how our technology mimics biology in the natural universe and all that stuff. That might be another instance of which we find out later that, you know, when we do die and we pass on to the next thing, we really just occupy another vessel in a higher dimension. It's possible. It doesn't have to be robotic or biological. It might be something totally different. Or we might even be manipulating them right now and not conscious of it, right? But that is science fiction. That is like science fiction stuff, right?
You have faced many challenges. Pity they were all in vain. Soon your people will kneel
Zune.
to
Did you
my
say Zune?
Lord.
Gross. Zune. Reminds me of the Tim and Eric sketch. It wasn't like one of their well-known sketches, but it was like some like deleted scenes or whatever, behind the scenes features or whatever. And they're talking about, I have this Zune, but like, the weirdest thing, I have to convert all my MP3s to this funky .del file. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. It does indeed use MP3s. Like, I love the Zune, but I have to convert all my songs to this fucking funky .del type format. You're like, oh, good. Good time to resist. Fucking shit. Oh, keep that guy alive. That's shitty. You know that tank's gonna eat shit. Oh, he fucking whatever. Nature bomb. Nature bomb guy. There we are. Quick on the battle res. Nature swiftness. We got it. It's a physical impossibility for us to wipe now. Right. Nezer's head, his riding crop. We took his horse. Another ominous letter. I've not done this shit. Yeah, I should. Okay, so his ominous letter. Healing damage. Greed. Can't I can't disenchant that, but thanks for the run, guys. Thanks for the runs, Mom. She cooked spaghetti yesterday. Cook port chat. Port to chat, alright. Wiped on this yesterday, dude. This shit was terrible. Yeah, I can't explain beyond the point of what I already have of what I think could be one of the fucking things. It's like, and if not, you can assume that that's kind of coming up with the framework on how a simulated dimension might work. You know what I mean? Even if that isn't how ours works, it's like we're kind of coming up with a way on how to create a simulated universe, right? Turn these quests in. Where do I turn these quests in at? How far should it? Oh, I gotta get all these guys' hooves and heads and stuff. What a mess. So, oh, love Morty, and Morty, he loves me. I'm not necessarily making breakfast just yet, but the reason why I'm saying this is like think about it this way: you can create even just a rudimentary fucking sphere and blender and have fucking things run around on the globe there, and they are none the wiser to the fact that they're just data transmission amongst routers, computers, wires, internet, and internet infrastructure, right? Like we might be living a similar experience. Like we think things work this way because it's all we can see, but they always give the example of like the ant on the inside of like a pipe. It kind of experiences its reality by its feet adhering to the pipe regardless of where it is in the third dimension or whatever, as if it's a flat surface like we experience reality, the three dimensions, four dimensions, with our feet planted on the planet because of gravity. Well, for all intents and purposes, an ant experiences a cylinder as if it's a sphere, just like we do, because it doesn't know any difference, right? It's like the perspective here is important, right? Whether it's on the inside of the pipe or the outside, whether it's upside down or right side up, it doesn't know the difference. And we might just be like ants, kind of caught in this hyperdimensional cylinder that we don't fucking know, and we're experiencing it as a sphere because of gravity or whatever we think we see or whatever we think we know, right? But I'm starting to think that with that computational talk the guy had the other day about the computational universe, that we might really have more of like a modem, router, internet, decentralized hypercomputer reality where, you get what I'm saying, where we just think our brain is where we fucking basically where we decode the signal from it, if that makes sense. It's more or less an interpreter chip, not as much as like an actual thinking machine, possibly, right? That's one possibility, right? But with its own network of fucking antenna and stuff like that, right? But I'm not necessarily willing to jump ship on the idea that we're good old-fashioned people, but it's still one of those like kind of interesting things to research and talk about and all that. But I have yet to. I said the other day, the thing clicked for me when the guy said it like that. I'm like, it's just like lag. He didn't even call it lag. I'm like, how does he not know that that's lag, right? He explained it just like computer lag. I'm like, oh, that does make sense, right? Like, what happens in a video game when you try to go too fast? It fucking, the frame rate drops and time kind of, and yeah, it makes sense, really. But I don't really have a lot more to shit to do. Like right now, all I can really do is farm gold and a few five mans. Turn this guy's head, I guess. But there's just not a whole lot to do. Oh, I only have the head. I needed like a couple other things. I need a head, a fucking foot. What else is there? I'm not gonna bore you people by making you watch me. Not yet, anyway. Having my stream consist of me farming all day. I did that yesterday. Where is the next thing though? I hate Durnhold Keep and Steam Vaults, not Steam Vaults, Ramparts. This is the first time I've done Ramparts. I've yet to do Heroic Arcatraz though. Mana Tombs, Mechanar. My dad texted me the day. He said, "Have you been? What did he say? Smart ass. Have you been killing any void elves today?" Yes. How do you know about the void elves? Right. Oh, cool, cool. Headed there then. These are fun. Mechanar is nice and quick, and it's challenging enough to not get bored, but not so difficult that you want to throw a puppy off a bridge or anything. Like Hunter Biden, that fucking guy. Anyway, oh, the horse. Did the horse mount drop off cars on? I wish that they made more items as rare as the Baron Rivendare mount. I like that they kept the alarm mount super rare, and I hope that there needs to be like sacred things. Like, is there nothing sacred? Like, they want to always nerf everything, and they want to like, oh, well, everybody should have a Baron mount. You're like, leave it at like a 1 in 100,000 drop. That's about it, right? And then people can cry that they don't have it. Those, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's a lot of luck, but not a lot of skill necessarily. Uh, but still, you want them to keep certain items like next to impossible to get. That makes the game fun. You know what I mean? The thing that it's not necessarily. I'm trying to think of like e-commerce, where how do you assess what you think a video game item should be worth? There could be a formula to determine, even as an in-game currency that's issued to create an economy for the items and stuff. It's like, what is what is the exchange rate for gold on like a gold exchange website? And how many hours does it take to farm that much gold? And then how many perceived hours is it required to farm this specific item? And you're like, well, if you can farm 1 gold an hour and you farm for 10 hours, that's 10 gold. And it takes 10 hours to craft this one item, then technically that item should be worth like 10 gold, right? Give or take, like some variance. And then you can use something similar to that to try and kind of assess what you believe like your guild bank might be worth. How much gold is it worth? How much, so on and so forth. How many hours is that? What do you get paid an hour is helpful, and if you make a lot an hour, then you can say, well, realistically, the thing could be worth a whole shitload then, right? Depending on how much you make versus how much, so on and so forth. How precious is your time, that kind of thing. Those are arbitrary numbers, obviously, but whatever. We can kill 2 of these things. But sit up straight. Oh shit. I can only counterspell 1 out of every 2 of these things, so I need an assistant, right? It's not a magic trick, you fucking autist. Just counterspell the fucking thing. I need one assistant from the audience. I need someone to help me counterspell this guy's glow-in-the-dark hands. Right. I need one assistant. One 5'4" pretty blonde to help me counterspell. Without a penis. Wink. Right. No penis. Wink. Oh, fucking shit. Idiot. Why is it so funny? Penises are hilarious, guy. Penis is like 15-20% of any joke ever. Farts, a modest percentage also. Farts and penises. Yeah, if it weren't for farts and dicks, man, we'd all be out of work, wouldn't we? Some of us, I would be. Yeah, we'd all be out of work if it weren't for farts and dicks. And the feminists, I understand, right? The vagina joke, I get it. There's room for them too, unfortunately. As much as we don't like it, all this DEI. Sit up straight. Can I get more crits, please? Got like a 25% chance to crit. There we go. Fuck. I almost always get those too. Somebody posted a picture of what Gary Busey's kid the other day from Starship Troopers, and they said this is what Green Day looks like. This guy looks like what Green Day sounds like. Gary Busey's kid. I think it's funny as fuck. I don't necessarily agree, but it is super funny. Have you ever seen Starship Troopers? This is what Green Day looks like. Shit. How's that not hitting anybody? Well, I'm gonna get a sheep one anyway. Sure we can't skip all this? World of Parkour Craft. I don't understand the purpose of this. Negative. Negative. Let me guess, you're positive? No, yeah, you're positive. You're negative. You're negative. There we go. If we had one more people, we should have 3 buffs. Shouldn't we? Is I supposed to get... There's negative. There's 1. Okay, so the most you can get is 2. I thought 1 counted for myself. Okay, so that was as much damage as you can do there, is have 3 of the debuffs at a time. Still not very good damage though, 1.4k. I used to do that at like level 60. Maybe. I think I did more like on like patchwork and stuff. Oh, shit. It was like, I think I had like 900 or 1000 DPS or more. And then at level 70, I had like 2000 on Brutalis. My god, dude. I didn't pull that. I'm not the one who pulled that. I can't counterspell that either. I am invisible right now. I guess you're just running out. It's quicker than and cheaper than just dying and running back. After this, though, I'm gonna make some bagels and eggs and cheese. Ooh, Jerry. Oh yeah, Jerry. There's one, two, three. Where's the other guy? I count 4 people.
You have approximately 5 seconds to live.
I didn't mean to pull aggro.
The processing will continue as scheduled.
Do we have a res other than... We do, we have a priest. Good. I forgot to counterspell that just now. That's not good. Alright, now. Now, if he does another one, I should really get it.
My calculations did not.
Oh, Jerry. I woke up starving to death last night. Instead of eating like a bag of chips, though, or whatever, I ate like bananas. Which is good. I think overall my calorie count was like where it should be as far as that's concerned. Uh, where I need to cook a pot of rice today, though, for sure. The thing is, I love rice, man, but black beans are like way better tasty foods and stuff, right? But they're more expensive, so you're like a bag of like 15 pounds of rice is like $15, which makes like 30 pounds of fucking food basically for $15. You can't really beat it. 50 cents a pound for food, right? I can counterspell one or the other of these arcane fists. And we do not have another interrupt. Can bears? They can bash, but that's a stun. Oh well. It's an annoying noise, though, isn't it? So I hope I didn't like my assessment the other day. Like all these people I said, like, "Where's your dedication?" All that stuff. Like, I could be wrong, man. I might have read into that entirely wrong. Really, it just that's what it seems like when you haven't seen people in a while, and like suddenly this new pretty thing, shiny thing shows up, like I mentioned yesterday, and like all these people are suddenly like, oh, high fiving and sticking their thumbs up each other's asses and stuff. You're like, well, I can only assume you're doing that for what one reason? What other reason is there? You know, not that I'm privy to your home life or social life or anything, but I would think it does sort of come across that way, and I just don't like people using our community chat for staging other shit, communicating other things. It's like just do that somewhere else. There's other plenty of places to do that kind of thing. I would just prefer for the community chat to be for community things, not all this like do it somewhere else. You know what I mean? Basically, I would prefer it if they would, but I can't make them do it. So I just know that things sort of that type of thing poses more of a problem than it does help, right? And it's like, and even if it helps, it's only helping certain people. And you have to say, if what you're doing is what you should be doing, then why are you fucking walking around pretending to be somebody that you aren't, you know, communicating in this weird manner? Just do it out in the open or do it somewhere else. Do it in private messages. Don't do it here, period, right? This is no different than the shit I was saying yesterday about like you've got to take the time to say like you cannot be doing this where we are. Basically, go do it somewhere else if that is that is indeed what's happening. You know, like as much as I can't stop people from doing shit like that, I can't let retards jeopardize my future. Period. And I won't let them jeopardize yours either. You get what I'm saying? Like, but I have no authority to tell them to not do that. You know what I mean? Unfortunately. But whatever. You know, I'm not gonna dwell on it all day like I did yesterday. Just I've said my piece. I don't agree with it because I don't know what their intention is. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what it consists of. I just know that more often than not, if it's on the up and up, you have no reason to pretend to be fucking somebody that you aren't, right? Which is why I've always taken the hardline stance, as much as it might be to my detriment in the future. People harassing me is something that's happened in the past. People stalking me online and trying to catfish me and all this ignorance that I put up with. But I do it because I want you to know my name. I want you to know where I live. I want you to see my face. I don't want there to be any of my character called into question when the time's right. I want to be that guy because there's so few of them. And in a lot of ways, as much as it has really caused me a lot of grief in my life, right? By people harassing me and shit to the point where I had to step away from everything for a while because of it, right? For those reasons, though, it's like, not to say the sacrifice that I'm willing to make, but I'm willing to fucking take the beatings for it, you know, and it sucks having to be that guy sometimes because it's easier to not be that guy. But it does offer and afford, uh, not to say there's benefits to it, right? For one, I just don't like living like that. I don't like it, you know. Um, it's annoying, it's frustrating, and like I've said 100 times, the hypothetical here is you meet your soulmate online, right? The perfect person for you, and you get along great. You do everything that you want to do. You find out you want to marry this person, right? Come to find out, you're not who you say you are. So what the fuck, man? Like, what a shallow and shitty existence, right? You know, that's about all I have to say about it. Like, at some point in time, your perfect match, your soulmate, is not going to forgive you for not being who you say you are. You get what I'm saying? So I just assume don't, right? As much as it's like, well, I like to just kind of troll people anonymously and all this other stuff. Like, I get that people like to do that kind of thing. I cannot say that I agree with it, man. It's just, it's kind of childish. And I understand there are certain people that have a valid reason for why it is that they choose to not be known online. And I'm not asking anybody to unmask or decloak themselves and put themselves at risk, because the online shit and the people there, the circus that has recently come to town, is a very unforgiving group of individuals if they ever cared to begin with, right? So I'm not asking anybody to do something that makes them uncomfortable, but it does it does help that there are people like, and I hate that it's gotten that way because I don't look upon what I'm able to do as a particularly helpful set of shit skills, whatever, any more than the next guy. But the fact of the matter is, everybody has chosen this path of anonymity and not being able to be hands on. So it's, I say thank you kind of, because it's really greased the skids for a guy like me, where all you have to do is have one person stand up and have an opinion to be the only person in the room, right? Like, I wish you people wouldn't have done that, because it's like now the fucking the responsibility placed on my shoulders because of something like that. Um, it's going to take me getting used to at some point in time. I know that much. But I would say there's probably far more capable people out there than myself that have, for whatever reason, have chosen this kind of that option. And I would say I would prefer to have the person that can do it best doing it, not the person that was just there on time or there at the right time, right? And I might be discrediting myself or whatever, you know, I might be wrong about that entirely, but you would have to say, like, you would hope for there to be more of a qualifier than just the guy that happened to be there, you know, and the guy that was willing to speak his mind, and the guy that was, you know what I mean? But it's not that way, so I wish it were. I wish more people, but at some point in time, these relentless armies of internet trolls have made the internet a very kind of untenable place to try and have a good time, really, to just try and exist. It's always something, right? So I understand why, but I have chosen, despite it being a far more, I say difficult, not really difficult, far more taxing, far more emotionally, you know, kind of just experience having to put up with people constantly trying to take you down a notch, making fun of you, shitting all over your name, looking you up online, harassing you, you know, and a whole bunch of stuff, other stuff that I'm just gonna just leave out of it for now. All because you wanted to be the one guy, not the one guy, but one of the guys to say like, well, I'm not afraid of you people. Like, yeah, you are annoying, but you don't scare me. You know, like if you knew some of the people that I've dealt with in the past, nobody on the internet is going to scare me. Trust me. Um, you know, no one on the internet is going to say something that is going to scare me as much as some of the people that I've met. Trust, you know, and that's saying a lot. Trust me. But that being said, right, like people that are familiar with some of the shit that I've had to go through, yeah. So, despite the fact that I could have taken the path of least resistance, right, and that anonymity affords a certain level of like, you know, it relieves you of a certain amount of headache that you don't necessarily need. Do you want me to sheep something? He's got a seed of corruption. It's a far more, I say safe, but it should be safe regardless, but it's just a far less annoying life, you know, not having to deal with people's shit, you know, being able to pretend to be somebody that you aren't and all that. But like, look, I am, I get so sick and tired of play make pretenders on the internet. That's all, especially when they don't have a reason to. You know, I get it if you have a job that says you have signed a non-disclosure or whatever and you aren't allowed to reveal your identity online. That makes sense to me. I understand there's a necessity for that. I'm talking about the armies of internet trolls that don't have that requirement, have no reason to, and choose to be this 10-foot tall on the internet character, you know. Like, what a hindrance, you know what I mean? You mean to tell me you will sacrifice any opportunity at potentially finding, like, I say this like everybody's looking for romance online, but I mean, this is a hypothetical, whatever it may be, the perfect job for you, the perfect vacation, the perfect home, right? You're going to sit there and say that no amount of the potential of finding that perfect thing for yourself can happen now because you've chosen to just pretend to be somebody that you aren't, you know what I mean? That's, I would say, what the fuck is the matter with you, right? In all honesty, like, why wouldn't you want that for yourself? Yeah, I mean, and look, everybody has self-esteem issues. Everybody suffers from a lack of confidence every now and again. But I would question, how do you really feel about yourself if you think that you don't deserve those things that make you happy, to the point where you, a foregone conclusion to sacrifice the opportunity for yourself, right? That just seems stupid. So, I don't know. I have chosen not to do that, and it's annoying. It's, you know, people fucking troll me all the time. I put up with people's shit all the time. People pretend to be loved ones and people that I care about, and they harass me and shit and make fun of me and all that. Like, whatever, you know, it's just, they'll go to hell for it eventually. I know that much. I'm not trying to bother nobody. I freaking, quite literally, like, my sphere of shit that I do is so minimal. I can't imagine how I even got on your people's radar to begin with, really. Fuck. Sit up straight. You don't want to look at that. Definitely don't want to eat shit on that. Wow. Because we have a druid for a battle res, don't we? He's a bear druid, though. Oh shit, wrong way. Blinked the wrong way. Son of a bitch. How'd that even happen? Fuck, really? How do we wipe there? Oh shit, I shouldn't have released. Maybe. Well, fuck. I saw the other guy dead. I fucking shouldn't have released. Was this... Which one of these is Mechanar? I shouldn't have released. Shit. No, it's that one. Ain't it? I hope... I have to say, like, I hope they wipe so we can do it again, but... Yeah, well, the priest is dead, too. What happened there? Anyway, look at it this time. We hardly ever wipe on that. That was just like... I thought I blinked the other direction, didn't I? Takes just a minute to run back. That's why I like Mechanar. It's real quick. Even a wipe is like not a fucking... vacation, fucking travel, conquest up the mountain and all that. Yeah, so in a lot of ways, I don't know at what point in time, right? Huh? I did die. Oh, he should have let the mage die instead of tank. I thought he was a tanker saying he should have let me die. I'm like, I did die. I did die. Do we have to do the whole gauntlet? Or just half of the gauntlet? Hey, now we're all here. Battle res. Okay, 1 second then. Wish my skin wasn't so pasty, guy. Got mashed potato colored skin. Alright, I will sheep the fire guy. No. Well, don't consecrate. He's got a dot on there? Oh, man. 31 damage every... Fuck it, then. Really? Whatever. Go ahead and kill it. He lacerated it. 31 damage. Oh, cool. This shouldn't be a problem. You know, like, not, okay, so another thing is like, yeah, just, it's not about romance online, whatever, just like, you find an employer that wants to hire you to do something, and you're like, well, actually, you know, like, come on now. Like, what is your goal? You know what I mean? What are you aspiring to do here other than piss people off? It's a good question. Because you're only doing one of these things successfully. Right. Right. Whoa, what is all this shit? Oh wow, the Sun Eater. I have not seen that in a while. Wow, Kazawi. Mana Wraith. A fucking butter knife. You know, go into war with a butter knife. I have not seen the Sun Eater yet. Why don't I see more people wearing that thing? It's actually pretty good. Is there a reason why? Is today the daily? I've got like a fucking closet full of this guy's calculators doing this goddamn quest every day. Anyway. Well,